directors, office bearers, their members, and the speaker to IP's webinar series. Friends, as you all know, that today we are doing a webinar session, which is session 25. We'll just go quickly through the webinar guidelines. Your microphone video has been switched off for the convenience of viewers. Kindly keep it switched off during this session. You're requested to rename after joining as per the format so that we can easily address you. Request if you can be in good network zone for a seamless experience. Kindly use headphones, earphones. It's advised for better sound clarity. The webinar is being recorded for the benefit of our members. Please park in quick questions in question answer session along with your name in the chat window, which would be taken at the end of the session. Please use the chat option to express your point of view and questions to the speaker, panelist, or to IIP. Friends, as told that the webinars we have done so far 24 webinars, 25th we're doing today. The past webinars you can see on the screen, you can just read them out, and in case you feel like, you can visit IP's website and have a look at the webinars which we have done earlier. We have done webinars on various subjects with people from the industry, outside the industry, people who have experience, people who can give us good mileage or good learning skills. So friends, today's session, as we are aware of that we are passing through a very tough time, and whenever you're in tough time, you need either friends or somebody to motivate you. So today we have selected Mr. Ajit Bajaj as our guest speaker, whose profile you can read in over the screen also. I'll just read a few words or few phrases about or sentences about him profile, because the profile, if I start reading in, I'll probably take the whole session to read his profile. So let me be brief. Mr. Ajit Bajaj is an adventurer and explorer and is the first Indian to have completed the polar trilogy, which entails skiing to the North Pole, to the South Pole, and across Greenland. He is the first Asian to have rafted the kayaked some of the most challenging rivers of the world, spanning 6 continents. He has won bronze medal in the national games for kayaking and 1 silver and 2 bronze medals in international rafting competitions in Switzerland and Russia. He contained the international team for World White Water Rafting Championship in Turkey in 1994. Mr. Ajit has done a number of first descents of rivers and is considered the pioneer of river rafting. Ajit, a PADI, Professional Association of Diving Instructors, certified rescue diver, and qualified as a mountaineering instructor from ENSA, which is French National School of Skiing and Alpinism. Ajit scaled Mount Everest with his daughter Divya on May 16, 2018, from Tibet, becoming the first Indian daughter-father duo to have accomplished this. A great achievement by itself. They are the first parent-child team in the world to have climbed Mount Everest from the harder north side. The duo also gave a strong message about the girl child in India that given the opportunity and proper nurturing, girls can attain great heights. Ajit and his daughter have climbed 6 of the 7 summits, the highest mountains on every continent. He is co-founder director of AdventureNation.com, India's leading online adventure tourism portal, with Yatra.com. He is founder Planet Harmony, an initiative to integrate to the mainstream child and disturbed areas such as J&K, Northeast, and Naxal affected areas. Mr. Ajit Bajaj was conferred the Padma Shri in 2012 by the President of India. He has been facilitated with the Hall of Fame award by the Adventure Tour Operators Association of India and the Hall of Fame by the Indian Association of Tour Operators. I really admire, and looking at the profile, I think, as I was telling earlier, he has already achieved the peaks, and I hope he has good messages for us to attain great heights today. So I'll probably, with those words, I'll probably hand over to Mr. Ajit to kindly take over us through the presentation. Mr. Ajit.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sareen. And I'd like to begin by sharing with you that Mr. Your chairman, Mr. Rajiv Dalapurkar, is a dear friend and somebody I admire greatly. I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but Mr. Jalnapukar was represented India in the Olympic Games in 1984 in gymnastics. So I'm a huge fan of his as well, and of all of you. I know these are tough times, and I'm going to do my best to share my story of adventure, of a life of adventure, and do my best to motivate all of us to get out of this tough time. So when I
Mr. Ajit,
graduated,
I would like to thank you first for another thing with information which you have shared with us about Mr. Rajiv. I think, I don't know whether Mr. Rajiv has joined in or not, but I really thank you for giving us information that Mr. Rajiv has done Olympics. We never
yes,
knew
in
about it.
1984 for gymnastics, he represented India. So he's
Wonderful.
quite a rock star. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So when I graduated from college, from St. Stephen's College in Delhi University, all my friends were getting real jobs in the real world. And when I told them that I'm going to make my passion for adventure sports into my profession, they thought that I had lost it completely. Well, this is how I commute to work. This is not every day, but sometimes. This is a 400-meter zip line that takes me across the Ganga River to Snow Leopard Adventures camp that we operate in the Garhwal Himalayas across the Ganga River. One of the people who really inspired me was Sir Edmund Hillary, who, as you all know, along with Sherpa Tenzing, was the first person to climb Mount Everest in 1953. I had the proud privilege of rafting Sir Edmund Hillary down the Ganga River on a few occasions. But in our world, we really respect, almost worship Sir Edmund Hillary. And the reason is not just because of his mountaineering achievements, but because of the work he did for the Sherpa people of Nepal post Everest. As you all know, he became very famous and he was able to raise a lot of money to build schools and hospitals. And in our world, he became higher and he scaled heights higher than Mount Everest. So straight out of college, I pursued my passion for adventure. I celebrated my 21st birthday on the summit of a 23,000-foot mountain called Kedar Dome in the Garhwal Himalayas, and went on to do a mountaineering course in the French Alps. And then began my quest to raft some of the wildest rivers on the planet. This is the Choru River in Turkey. And what you see is a photograph of me kayaking down this beautiful wild river. And this is the Alsek River in Alaska. And as you can see, it's extremely cold. You raft past these icebergs. But what is that you have grizzly bears. And these grizzly bears are huge and can be very aggressive. In fact, we got to see 28 grizzlies and black bears on our expedition. And there is a certain way, certain SOPs you have to adopt to avoid getting into any trouble with the grizzlies. One of my favorite rafting rivers is the Zambezi River. This is just below Victoria Falls, which, as you all know, is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And what you see here is this 16-foot raft disappearing into the maelstrom. These rapids are huge, and sometimes you can flip. But you have to be extremely careful, and you have to reflip the raft quickly, because in the calm pools below the big rapids are these big Nile crocodiles. And you have to, you've got to be very, very careful there. I had the very proud privilege of coming back to India and training the Indian Armed Forces. I ran 50 courses and expeditions for the Indian Armed Forces, including our special forces, running some of the uncharted wild rivers in our country, and also representing India. I started off by competing in the national games, and then competing for India in international rafting championships in Switzerland and Russia, where I was lucky enough to get a silver and 2 bronze medals. And this is on a ski expedition to the geographical North Pole, 50 degrees north latitude, the very top of our planet. You ski on a thin layer of ice on the Arctic Ocean, and sometimes you can fall through. What you see behind my team member here is a sled, and on your sled you carry your food, fuel, tents, provisions, and all of that. And of course, we had our fair share of adventure. So I was filming this friend of mine crossing a crevice, what you see here.
Well done, good one. And here goes the sled. Oh, shit.
Pardon my language. I had to go and help my American team member here. But of course, everything was fine. He was okay. We were able to pull the sled out. Planting the Indian flag on top of our planet, 90 degrees north latitude, was a very proud and emotional moment for me. I strongly feel that there is no challenge too big for us Indians. As an aside, I must also tell you that we were helicoptered from the geographical North Pole, and in about 10 days, I was back home in India. Now, the coldest temperature we faced on the North Pole ski expedition was minus 70 degrees Celsius with the wind chill factor. And I came back to Delhi in May, where the temperature was plus 44 degrees Celsius. It's amazing how the human body can adapt. A few months later, I was on an expedition to the geographical South Pole, 90 degrees south latitude, the very bottom of our planet. That's the little plane, the Twin Otter, that dropped us to the starting expedition. And we got into some of the worst conditions possible on the planet. That's an Antarctic storm. That's my photograph at 90 degrees south latitude, the bottom of our planet, the geographical South Pole. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm smiling big time. And the reason is that I had read about these polar explorers, people like Amundsen, Nansen, Scott, Shackleton, and it was a childhood dream to one day follow in their very illustrious footsteps and to try and get to the poles. And I'm smiling because I was able to make my dream. And I do feel for all of us, these are tough times, but all of us have to continue to dream. That is what life is all about. And these are challenging times. There will be many storms in the pursuit of our dreams, but we have to bash on regardless with a never given attitude. And it's a great feeling to have your dreams come true. I thought I knew what the spirit of adventure was all about till I got my best 2 buddies, my 2 daughters. This was a way of this was an underwater video. We were about 20 meters below the surface of the water with my daughters, scuba diving. And we took this video in Bali. We went down with we went scuba diving with another dive master. And we took this video to wish my wife a happy birthday. The music, of course, came later, was dubbed later. Sorry. That says, love you, Mama, happy birthday. That's my elder daughter, Dia, kayaking down a wild river called the Moose in the US. Now, both my daughters, it's the best thing that has happened to me in my life as my girls, and they enjoy adventure. But my elder daughter, Dia, she thrives on the more extreme stuff. And she was all of 14 when we went on our first kayaking expedition. This was to West Greenland, and we kayaked for 14 days along the fjords of West Greenland. You carry everything with you, your food, your tents, everything with you in these waterproof hatches on the kayak itself. And what you see here is an Eskimo roll. So this is the art of uprighting an upturned kayak. So you're underwater, and if you do flip over, through a series of coordinated maneuvers upside down underwater, you're able to upright the kayak. One of the things we did see, and I would like to highlight, is that all of us as global citizens have a huge responsibility. Our world is changing around us, and I'm talking about global warming. As you're aware, the Arctic regions, Antarctica, in the last 2 decades or so, there has been a warming of about 1.5 degrees Celsius. And our planet is becoming a warmer place. And we were able to see a lot of signs and symptoms of this on our expedition. What you see here is my daughter wearing a net. Because of global warming, these mosquitoes are breeding in wild profusion. And we had to wear nets because otherwise, as you can see, these mosquitoes would eat you alive. We also saw that a lot of the glaciers, as you can see here, were receding. You can also tell that they've reduced in thickness. While we were in Greenland, we decided, my daughter and I, to ski across the Greenland ice cap. And this shot was taken to prove that global warming is no longer a myth. No, this was actually just a dare. My friends on the expedition challenged me to swim to an iceberg and climb on top. And I did it. I think it was for dinner after the expedition. It was never rowed. But you know, that is what expeditions are all about. It's a lot of fun, and that spirit when you're out there in nature, it's an amazing feeling. This was also taken to embarrass my daughter who was with me. So 3 years later, we ended up at the edge of the Greenland ice cap. As you are aware, the polar trilogy entails skiing to the North Pole and to the South Pole, and also skiing across the Greenland ice cap. So we started on the west coast of Greenland. We skied, cross-country skied along the Arctic Circle to the east coast of Greenland. Now, my daughter was still in school. She had just turned 17, and nobody that young had actually attempted this crossing. So I must admit, I was a very nervous father. The ambient temperature was about minus 23 degrees Celsius. We got into storms where the temperature dropped to minus 45 degrees Celsius. This is actually camping. It's like living in a deep freeze. This is camping on the Arctic ice cap, and we had 24 hours of daylight. And what you see here was straight out of a James Bond movie. Um, During the Cold War, the Americans had built some of these distant early warning systems. What you see here, the White Dome. And these were radars. In case the Soviets sent missiles or did a preemptive raid, the Americans would get to know through because with the help of these radars. After the Cold War ended, these were abandoned, and we could actually go inside and take a look, and we could tell that this was a mail station because there were Playboy magazines and there were cases of beer still left there. That's one of our team members, Tony. We started calling him Tony the Walrus after this. Of course, planting the Indian national flag, becoming the first Indian to ski across the Greenland ice cap was a very proud moment for both of us. My daughter became the youngest person in the world to have skied across the Greenland ice cap. As I said, we skied about 600 kilometers over 21 days. Just before my daughter left for college, she went to Cornell University in the US. We climbed Mount Elbrus, which is the highest mountain in Europe. This is in Russia. And while my daughter was at Cornell University, I went to meet her, and we were really enjoying our adventures together. We decided to climb Mount Everest. As you can, this is the summit of Mount Everest. The right side is Nepal, and the left side and the face that you see in front of you, this is in Tibet. I like to call it Tibet. The summit demarcates the border between Nepal on the right and Tibet on the left. We decided to climb Everest from Tibet, which is considered the harder side. Very few people climb from this side because it is steeper, it is colder, there's more wind. Also, there are less people because it's harder. And we thought that there was also less objective danger from Tibet because it's steeper, so there are less chances of avalanches on this side. But when you want to climb Mount Everest, even as trained mountaineers, you've got to give it your very, very best. So we did 4 training expeditions. The first one was to climb a mountain in Ladakh called Kangyatse. This is during the climb to Kangyatse. And we were going on our expedition to Everest in April 2018. And in December 2017, we went to Nepal. We did a winter trek for about 18 days. This is in the Everest region. We also met our Sherpas and we bought our equipment. Also, when we were back home in Delhi, we would be training really, really hard. We would be working out a lot of intense cardio for at least 4 hours every day, 2.5 hours to 3 hours in the morning, and then doing another hour or 2 hours in the evening as well. And then also doing a regular day's job during the day. In January 2018, we went to the French Alps to climb in the winter. This is my daughter, Dia, climbing a frozen waterfall. And our last expedition, we thought, what better way to train than to go looking for the very rare, the elusive snow leopard. This was in Ladakh, and we were very lucky. We had 4 sightings of the very elusive, rare gray ghost of the Himalaya, as it's called. And we thought that this was a very good omen. As you are aware, people spend a lifetime looking for the snow leopard. In April 2018, we got to the base camp. But as you can tell, we could drive all the way to Rinpoche Monastery, which is the base camp of Mount Everest from the north side. What you see at the back is Mount Everest. And this is a prayer ceremony We got the Rinpoche, the head Lama of the Rongbuk Monastery, to come and bless our expedition. You know, looking at Mount Everest from the base camp, I realized that there are people who talk about conquering Mount Everest. We human beings are too small, too insignificant, and can never conquer mountains. We must always approach mountains and Mother Nature with respect and humility. This is the mountain, and if all of us were to go to the summit of Mount Everest, we would die within 3 minutes. The reason is there's 1/3 the level of oxygen there than we have at sea level. So what you do is you go up the mountain very slowly. The mantra for success is climb high, sleep low. During the day, when you're acclimatizing, you gain about 2.5, 3,000 feet. You spend some time there, and then you come back to a lower altitude, your sleeping altitude. You do that for a few days, and then you gain your altitude. So our route was from the base camp. We went to an intermediate base camp, advanced base camp, and up this very steep snow and ice slope to the North Col. We spent a night without using supplemental oxygen at the North Col, and we came back to the base camp. And after waiting for a clear weather window, we started on the final summit climb. This is the intermediate base camp. This is on the East Rongbuk Glacier. It's a moving river of frozen ice. And that's a yak. And on the Tibet side, yaks can go all the way up to the advanced base camp. We call it the Miracle Highway. This is the advanced base camp. And you can see the very steep, almost vertical wall of ice behind. That's my daughter, Dia. During the day when I would see Dia climbing and her youthful exuberance, I would be a very proud father. But in the evenings, when I was in my tent, while we had trained so hard, there are so many things that are beyond your normal control and can go horribly wrong. I really didn't know if I had done the right thing, and there was definitely a huge amount of self-doubt. This is what it looks like, the climb up to the North Col. That's Dia in the blue jacket. And you can see those black dots are other climbers as well. That's the North Col of Everest. This was our camp, and you have to be very careful when you're camping on Mount Everest. On the left side, what you see is a crevice. And on the right side was a 2,000-foot sheer drop all the way down to the advanced base camp. So let your imagination go for a little while. It's a sunny day in the Himalaya. You are climbing close to 8,000 meters in the so-called death zone of Mount Everest. It's called the death zone because we human beings are not supposed to be there. There's very little oxygen. And also, if something happens, there is no such thing as rescue. It was a relatively sultry minus 25 degrees Celsius. I was climbing with my daughter. The terrain was difficult, a mixture of rock and ice. We had trained hard, and while it was tedious, we were really enjoying the climb. Suddenly, with very little warning, the wind speeds picked up and there was a storm. All hell broke loose, with wind speeds picking up to 50 kilometers per hour and gusting up to 70 kilometers per hour. And the temperature dropped to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Suddenly, it became a battle. Camp 2 was still about 2 hours away. This is what the storm looked like. You're worried about your daughter and your team. One mistake can have fatal consequences. What do? You take a deep breath. You cannot panic. You have trained hard, and you know that the training will stand you in good stead. A lot of battles are fought in the human mind, and we win or lose depending on our mental attitude. You have to stay positive. You encourage your daughter and in turn draw strength from looking at her climbing strongly and steadily through the storm. You encourage her and tell her to keep an eye on the team. Positive visualization. Imagine you're in camp drinking something hot, or better still, standing on the summit with your daughter and team and unfurling the Indian flag on the summit. We are all in a similar situation today. We are in a deadly storm, and the same rules can help us come out of this. The world has changed and turned upside down. The biggest crisis of our times has hit us hard, like a storm in our lives. I want to say that the world has become a VUCA world. There's volatility, there's uncertainty, there is chaos, and there is ambiguity. I want to quote Charles Darwin here. It is not the most intellectual of species that survive, not the strongest, but the ones that are able to adapt to and to adjust best to the changing environment. Charles Darwin, in his book, Origin of Species, said this in 1959. All of us, we cannot get into a blame game. We have to go through this strong storm, resilient, and we have to come out of it with a never given attitude and going strongly for the summit, going strongly to achieve our dreams. And I want to talk about leadership in a crisis. And I want to quote from the Indian Army here, where they say that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. There is also a French term, it's called sang-froid, which has to be our middle name. Sang-froid is the ability to stay calm and cool in a crisis. This is what separates the men from the boys and the women from the girls. We have to have confidence, and our team, our customers, our suppliers must know that as well. That no matter what happens, as leaders, we will get our team through this difficult situation. And my last point about battling this storm is compassion. In the army, again, they say that the safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the men and women you command comes next. Your own ease, comfort, and safety comes last, always and every time. Sorry, I'm not able to change the slide. Please give me a second. Coming back to our story, we braved the storm and we got to our Camp 3 on Mount Everest. As I mentioned, this is the death zone. We got there exhausted. Our tents had been covered in snow. We had to dig our tents out, and we got in. The storm started again. We did not sleep all night. Luckily, the weather gods were kind, and at about 5:30 in the morning, the storm abated. We were worried all night. We thought that our tent is going to blow off, or it's just going to rip, and we are going to get blown off the mountain. At 7:30, we slept till 7:30. We forced ourselves to eat something, because in the so-called death zone, there's very little oxygen. You lose your appetite, and we the mountain again. to our summit camp. As you can see, we are using supplemental oxygen here. We got to our camp, summit camp, and this camp had the best views possible. This is what it looked like. On the left side was Mount Everest, and on the right side was an 8,000-foot drop all the way down to the East Rongbuk Glacier. So we got a little bit of rest, and there was a lot of nervous anticipation for the climb. We forced ourselves to eat something, to drink something, and just before we left, I was able to call my parents, get their blessings, and also talk to my wife and my other daughter. And I could tell that they were very, very nervous. At 9 o'clock at night, we got out of our tents and we started our climb. Now, it was pitch dark. As you can see, it was minus 50 degrees Celsius. And this is what it was like climbing through the night. It was almost vertical. We were using our headlamps to climb. It was a mixture of rock and ice. We climbed strongly through the night. You have these three pinnacles called the first step. There is a treacherous second step, and you can see frozen bodies there as well. And that is something which is not a nice feeling. They were fellow mountaineers like you, and either got caught in a storm or circumstances which led to that. So Dia and I climbed very strongly through the night. We were close to the summit at 3 in the morning on the summit pyramid when suddenly something went wrong with me. I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what had happened to me till I figured that the tube supplying oxygen to my mask had frozen. It was minus 50 degrees Celsius after all. And that was a moment of truth for me. I just did not know what to do. I was climbing with my daughter and we were close to the summit. Now, when you are climbing and it's that cold, if you stop, you can almost freeze to death. I told my daughter, I decided to let her climb onto the summit with our Sherpa buddy. My heart sank when I saw her headlamp moving away from me. I decided to follow her. Now, without oxygen, you slow right down. And I didn't even know if I will make it or not, probably not. But just as luck would have it, our head Sherpa had a spare mask. He caught up with me and I started climbing. I tried really hard to catch up with Dia. At first light, I saw Dia just below the summit waiting for me. We hugged, and it was an extremely emotional moment for us. Our dream had come true. We proudly unfurled the Indian tricolor. I must admit that we don't climb for records, but as the first daughter-father team from India to climb Mount Everest, and the first in the world, the first parent-child team in the world to have climbed Mount Everest from the harder north side, we wanted to give a strong message to our fellow citizens. There is no challenge too big for us Indians. We have to work hard and excel in our chosen field with passion, honesty, and perseverance, and aim to get quite literally to the top of the world. Our girls, our daughters, given the right nurture support, can attain any height and can be a force multiplier, not just for the country, but the entire world. It was bright daylight now, and we could see the treacherous way down with a drop of 10,000 feet all the way down to the East Rongbuk Glacier. We were exhausted. We had slept for 2 nights. This is what the summit traverse looks like. This is the tricky third step where you descend this rock face. And this is the treacherous second step. And this is below this is sadly where you can also see a few frozen bodies. We were very lucky. We came back off the mountain unscathed. That's an Austrian climber who sadly got frostbite on his fingers. And all 10 fingers had to be amputated. Dia and I, as I said, we got back home very safely. We came back to a huge welcome. We had 250 friends and family, of course, at the airport with a brass band to welcome us. And it was also a huge honor to meet the Honorable President of India. My daughter, wife, and I discussed with the Honorable President that girls in our country have to continue to break the gender stereotype. They have to pursue their passion and find their true identity. We were also made the brand ambassadors of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, the campaign to save the girl child and educate the girl child. A few years, we joked with the Honorable President and we said Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, or Beti Ko Everest Chadhao, being symbolic of loving our daughters, nurturing them, and just helping them to dream big, facing the challenges and storms in the pursuit of their dreams, and then celebrating on achieving their dreams with them. A few years back, I was conferred the Padma Shri. While it felt great, I would like to mention that receiving recognition is not why my passion. There is a feeling of inner joy and happiness when you find your identity as a human being. I found mine through adventure. And today, even my friends from college do acknowledge the fact, rather grudgingly, that I had made the right decision. I do believe that we are blessed to be born as Indians. I want to repeat that there is no challenge too big for us Indians. We have to stay cool, calm, and composed and work together as a team through this storm. We have to emerge victorious together at the end of this. There will be light at the end of this tunnel. The challenge for all of you as an association, as a team, is to ensure that every company of your association survives, not just survives, but comes out of this storm victorious. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, has to be the spirit to take us all forward. At an individual level, all of us have to climb our own Mount Everest and unfurl the tricolor proudly on the summit. That'll be our biggest service to our nation. With that, I'd like to wish all of you great health, happiness, and success as you come out of this storm victorious and heights higher than Mount Everest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ajit. That was really just like watching in a movie. For us, it is something like watching in a movie, going to Mount Everest and looking at all the things, the experience which you have shared in with us. It was really wonderful, amazing, and really motivating for us because after watching in all this, we feel that the problems we are facing through is not that big. It's okay, it's big, but not that big. But really wonderful having you with us. And may I request Mr. Rajiv Jalnapurkar to kindly give in a vote of thanks to Mr. Ajit for the experiences which he has shared with us. Kindly unmute Mr. Rajiv, please.
Ajit ji, firstly, my apologies that I joined about 6 minutes late because of the press conference. But, it's always pleasure to meet you and listen to you. The way you explain as an industry person, I'll feel that every challenge, the way you conquer, we really have to learn a lot from you. And I really, on behalf of Indian Association of Amusement and Industries, thank you very much for sparing a time. And I'm sure, Mr. Ajit, you are also in the same boat of challenges of this COVID-19, because I know the kind of tourism activities in the field of adventure you take care of it. And in this challenging time, you took a time. I want to really thank you. And Anuji, if any of our colleagues has any questions, I'm sure they should, if it is possible and the time permits, they should ask. Thank you so much, Ajit ji.
Thank you, Rajiv ji, for your kind words. May I request members, in case they have any questions, they can raise a hand, please, or they can just type in a question in the question box if we have any questions. In the meantime, may I request Mr. Ashwin Dange to be unmuted and say a few words about his experience on what Mr. Ajit has conquered so far. Mr. Ashwin Dange, please join in. Can we unmute Mr. Ashwin, please?
Ashwin, request is sent to you. You have to unmute from your side.
While we wait for Mr. Dange, would there be any questions? I'll be very happy to answer them for you.
Ajit ji,
So-
can you please tell us that in the field of adventure, the way in the northern region everybody is going through the challenges. What is the strategy right now you are visualizing that to reopen and to build the confidence with the guest once again come to the areas of adventure? You are into rafting and trekking, and you have lot of inbound tourism which comes to you. Can you just share your vision, how you would like to look at this challenge and eventually to revive in the industry?
So, like I mentioned, Rajiv ji, during my talk, I think it's critical for us to keep our teams together.
Yes.
We have to, this is also a time for our real leadership skills to come to the fore, and compassion has to be compassion, hard work, resilience, all of these attributes of great leadership have to be, all of us have to go for it. But there is an acronym which is called TOP that we use to get out of these kind of situations or to achieve success on some of these tough expeditions. And in TOP, T stands for teamwork. Now, none of us can get out of this storm alone. We need our teams. We need to have one for all for one kind of an attitude with our teams. O is outlook. And as I said, a lot of human battles are fought in the human mind, and we win or lose depending on our attitude. Our outlook has to remain 101% positive as we battle the storm. And P, again, is absolutely critical. P is for planning. I think we need to have a short-term, mid-term, and long-term plans moving forward as we fight this pandemic storm.
Thank you.
I do understand that your industry has also been hit very hard. But I think, Rajiv ji, the same rules apply for all of us. I think the most important is we have to stay positive and keep our teams together. We have to plan and just keep our smile on as we go through with this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. It was really wonderful to hear that. May I ask you one question in particular? Like, while going for the summit, what was the most difficult situation you went through where you had, a situation where you have to decide this way or that way? And it is that the situation we are passing through right now also, most of us. So, how to decide about it?
So, Anuji, luckily, all that planning and training that we did really helped us through. But definitely, the toughest moment was below the summit when my oxygen system malfunctioned and I had to make a choice. What do I do? Allowing my daughter to go ahead without me was, uh, again, a tough decision. But she could not have waited for me because it's extremely cold. If you stop, you can freeze, quite literally. And so that was a tough decision. But she had been climbing really strongly. And I just felt that even though I might not be able to make it, I should not deny her the chance. At that time, because of a lack of oxygen, or when you're facing a crisis, sometimes you are fuzzy brained, but you have to stay cool and calm. The French term, like I said, sang-froid, the ability to stay cool and calm through a crisis. As leaders, all of us have to have that. I think is the biggest attribute when we are facing a crisis, is to take a deep breath, stay cool and calm, and your chances of coming out on top are stronger if you smile through it.
Exactly. That is what we have been doing I think most of the industry people have been doing in past 1.5, 2 years now. But now we are losing in that calm at the moment. So that is why we invited you to motivate us to continue with the calm which we have been maintaining in past 2 years. Because it has been disastrous years now, and there was no planning earlier. But that's the first thing which you said, the planning which helped you out. But here, nobody planned anything of this sort. We never knew. Maybe we can probably, plan it now onwards. We can plan it on some of those lines. So, may I request Ashwin if you can hear us now?
Sir, I think there's an issue with his network.
Okay. Can we invite Captain Ashokan, please, to say a few words? Captain T.S. Ashokan, please. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself. So far, we don't have any questions, but there's a good compliment which has been put by Mr. Jose as a joke. He says Everest seems to be a safe place during COVID. I'm sure the virus cannot survive there. So we can probably think of going on there.
Yeah.
Captain Ashokan, if you can hear us.
I must tell you another thing in a lighter vein, Mr. Sareen, that, you lose your appetite on at high altitude. And if you want, as association members, to be able to eat anything and everything that you want and still lose weight, I would strongly recommend that you go to an expedition to climb Mount Everest. I lost 12 kilos. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think we'll have to put up a dare to everyone in IRP to follow your routes. Chairman, sir, I think we just got a news which was shared by Mr. Bajaj today with us about your 1984 Olympic Games. So can you just share a bit about that? Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Mr. Ajit is always kind. It was 1984, which, Indian gymnastics sport, called Malkham was represented. and that was the only time where one can able to fight and show that what we can do the best. And I was fortunate enough to do that. And to have that, there was a process and there was a challenges. But once you decide, as Mr. Ajit, when we saw the whole thing, I was visualizing, I think, how many challenges human being can cross to achieve a goal. And for me it was a old story, but at this time what I heard today from Mr. Ajit is much challenging, which I did it in my life.
Yeah. Very true.
Thank you.
But Rajiv ji, do share a little bit about your Olympic journey. I mean, your
No,
team members.
no, Ajit ji, I tell you, thank you so much, but I feel that my friends want to listen to you this time,
But hats off to you, to represent India
was-
and to go
that
for
is
the
all.
Olympic Games is absolutely makes us all very, very proud.
Thank you so much. It was, I requested Mr. Anuji and my friends that, instead of having a conventional motivation speaker, I couldn't think anybody else than you. And being a part of a tourism industry and the way the challenges with a passion you conquer, I always admire you and your work, Mr. Ajit.
Thank you so much, Rajiv ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit ji. Thank you, Rajiv ji. I think we do not have any questions. Maybe people are in a dilemma whether to ask you a question, or probably you might take them to Mount Everest next time. We'll dare them to do that. So we do not have much of a questions on the lighter note. So with that, we'll probably end in the session today.
Thank you.
And dear friends, I think everybody had a great time listening to Mr. Ajit, of the great achievements he has done so far. And friends, with that, we'll probably end in the session today. And
Thank
up
you,
next, the next session, upcoming session, we'll definitely get back to you very soon on that.
Thank
And
you.
it's solely because of your
Thank you
interest.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
thanks a lot,
Thank you,
sir.
Ajit ji.
Bye. Thank you. Pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. It is solely because of the interest of the participants that the webinar series has continued to attract such high numbers and has become a useful platform where ideas, knowledge are being shared. The link is given here for you to, in case you want to see through IIP's past webinars, you can copy the link and share it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again.
Thank you.